Okay. Okay. Lois Rosen. Lois Rosen joyfully leads Salem, Oregon's Trillium Writers, the ICL Writers Group at Willamette University, and co-founded the Peregrine Poets. Her poetry books are Pigeons, Trap Rock Books 2004, Nice and Loud, Tebuk Bach, okay. 2015, and Diving and Rising, Finishing Line Press 2021, which is available at finishinglinepress.com. And I read Lois's book. It's really wonderful. And on Amazon. Lois also writes prose. She won the K. Snow First Prize 2016 Fiction Award. Her work has appeared in over 100 journals, including most recently Calyx, Windfall, and Poetica. She just won an honorable mention in the 2021 Allen Ginsberg Poetry Contest. The Rainier Writing Workshop awarded her an MFA in fiction, a Deborah Tall Memorial Scholarship, and residencies at the Anderson Center and Vermont Center. Please welcome Lois Rosen. And make sure you're muted too, thanks. Okay.
Thank you, Sherry. And also thank you, Dale, for the wonderful poster. And thanks to all of you for being here. It makes me so happy to see your faces. It's just great. I'm going to start with the first poem in my chapbook. All the poems that I'm going to read are in the chapbook. And this one includes the title and the last line of the poem. Waterborne. Mom insists my old swim cap had plenty of wear left, though yellowed and the strap pinches. But I'm tucking my hair into a new one, dotted with stars I paid for myself. She and her
She's muted.
Oh, can you, I'm sorry, Lois, can you unmute yourself? Here.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
That's okay.
I don't know how that happened.
Okay, so where are we? They dawdle at the pool's edge, finally stand minutes in the shallow end to cool off, taking dips just to their armpits. Don't hurt your head when you dive, Mom says. Give me a break. I know what I'm doing. Turning from her, I snug the cap over my ears. After years of lessons, I speed across hot concrete. At the deep end, freed from yammering mothers, I curl my toes over the pool's edge. No springboard, my muscles loft me beyond sticky Yonkers humidity, my head centered in the arrow of my straight arms. Water caresses my skin, closer fitting than any bathing suit, immersed, surfacing only for air. Gravity cannot tame me. Pool walls don't stop my somersaults. I'm a spinner dolphin, diving and rising. And I grew up in Yonkers in this big apartment building, and it was really hot in the summer. And we had a superintendent of the building named Louis Rutgers, and he was fantastic. We loved him. So, fire hydrant hero. Yonkers is a desert with no oases, no camels transporting us like sultans. Who cares? We have Louis Rutgers, who never orders us kids, even once, to call him Louis or Mr. Rutgers. Louis knows I'm Lois Leibowitz, and the girl in apartment 1H is Susie O'Connor, and that the DePieces live on the 5th floor. All of us baby boomer kids. Not that we know what that means. What we do know is that Louis hefts a wrench long as our arms, and as superintendent fixes the broken things in our 96 family building. Yet his beefy hands do not punch or smack. Maybe quadruple the size of mine. His hands take wrench and screw it to the lid of the fire hydrant, smack in front of our building, Singer Arms. He doesn't care. He doesn't curse, but pulls so hard his shirt's stinky with sweat. If each one of us little kids tried, even all at the same time, we couldn't budge the bolt. We know a fireman's supposed to open a hydrant, but Louis unscrews the top. Eek, eek, sputter, pow, wow, a geyser erupts. We kids drench ourselves in icy glitter. Take that, mean son. We rush in, wiggle, leap, twirl, girl and boy, pinwheels, flying fish, sprites. When the festival finishes, clothes drip, hair streams, we shout. 3 cheers for Louis, the super, the super, the super. And thank you. Okay. This is one long sentence, and it also takes place when I was teaching middle school in the Bronx. My parents used to say, "You have a big mouth," but when I taught in the South Bronx, landlords burned buildings to get insurance money. Doors of my middle school students' apartments quadruple locked, discarded needles dotted streets. The Model Cities program left lots full of rubble from buildings torn down, none rebuilt. And my car had a steering wheel lock, hood lock, gas tank lock, locking hubcaps. All this true. I got up at 5 a.m. to type the daily magazine featuring their stories and named it Big Mouth. And we sat in a circle each morning reading their writing aloud while my mom complained, "You're out of your mind," because I was taking a classroom of kids on the subway to Coney Island Beach, the Metropolitan Opera's free kid concerts, the Natural History Museum, including one afternoon trip to an avian specialist's office in Manhattan because students found a duck with a rope embedded in its torn, scabbed leg, body slanting away from the direction we guessed it had to be tied. And kids from the projects, despite my mom saying, "You go in there, you're taking your life in your hands," collected change. We rushed to Aritzia of the Rich block on Park Avenue, where the bird vet removed the rope, stitched up the sedated duck's leg, applied salve, gauze, and told us the handful of coins was plenty. After which, a kiddie pool appeared in our classroom. Students took turns treating the wounds, and the duck opened its bill, quacking. No one telling her to shut her big mouth. And besides, as far as we knew, at the end of the school year, the duck was driven to Westchester for a luxury life in a pond. My mom said, "You did what? For a fakakta duck?" But that's if I told her and my father about the duck, because they warned me many times, it's better not to be too honest. And sometimes you have to lie. So who's to say? This one comes from when I was teaching English as a second language at Chemeketa Community College in Salem. And most of the classes that I finally got to do were the reading and writing classes. And in this particular poem, I stole lines from things that the students wrote, and I also changed the names too. So, and I want to say Pauline Peterson is here, our former poet laureate, and she put this poem up for other people to read. I was so excited. Thank you, Pauline. Poetry in ESL class. Working past midnight, Javier gets up at 5 a.m. to bake empanadas for our class. He considers, and this is a quote, a teacher, an opal, shining in the darkness. Pilar floats into the classroom, her hair loose to the middle of her back. She writes, I am Colibri, the hummingbird, radiant feathers, vibrating wings. Evelina tells our class she admires poets, looking at each little stone, each star. And this one is about my sister-in-law, Lynn, who was probably my person I'd nominate for sainthood. Anyhow, this is an elegy for Lynn. Lynn's gold. I found the gold ring in my late sister-in-law's jewelry box, slipped it on my finger, and wore the band daily until it broke. Gold, I believed, remains strong. We say solid gold, but I learned from a jeweler, gold is so soft, it's common that rings bend or crack. My solid sister-in-law cut down our Christmas trees, shimmied up oaks to shake mistletoe loose, taught decades of middle schoolers, fostered one of her students. After retirement, she led Relay for Life teams, hauled immense garbage bags full of pop cans from doctors' clinics, donated redemptions to the Cancer Society. This week, the jeweler restored her flattened ring to its full circle. After a polishing, the gold glows. If only the oncologist had found a potion to restore her health. Lynn, oh Lynn, I miss your ringing laughter, your 14-karat kindness. Okay, I have two more. And the first one took place when I was with a writing group in Yelapa, Mexico, near Puerto Vallarta. And there are lots of dogs there on the beach that are very mellow. They're really lovely, those dogs. But I didn't know that when I was first there, and I was alone in a cabin. So, and this poem got an award in the Oregon Poetry Association, so that was fun too. And the last stanza, the dog speaks. Yelapa regret. Four-legged swain sachets into my no-door open-air palapa, along with smells of grilling tortillas. Raucous chachalaca, bird call clatter. Light brown, maybe a Labrador mix, more surfer dude than simpering pet, a guest without reservations, here for a one-nighter, perhaps longer, a stray with no collar. I back away, fretting about fleas and bites. Shoo, vayate, I wave. He trots out, no barking or growling, dignity intact. His name's Canelo, male version of cinnamon, I'm told. Playa dogs are peaceful. Minutes later, he curls up on the next door woman's cot. You're lost, lady. I could have snuggled beside you this moonlit night under the mosquito net. Me, the local. Que lastima. I got muted there. And this is the last one. And people that know me know I love to dance. And this year I've been dancing in front of the computer, but I used to go to classes, and I'm going to take a drink of water first. Okay, so not a professional ballerina. And there's 3 parts in this. I'm a kindergartner showing off my sunset gold satin-topped leotard with a triple layered stiff net tutu sticking way, way out, wearing black leather ballerina slippers on the day camp bus, where Stanley, our driver, grins. You look beautiful. And I bow for my fans. I am the dancer who does not change into shorts or a bathing suit all day. Finally, 12, promoted to dance on point. I slip my feet into pink satin shoes. Lamb's wool puffs caress my toes. Long pink satin ribbons crisscross my ankles. I teeter on tippy toes, rising, relevé, pas de bourrée, and assemblée, aloft. In the mirrored room at the bar, I arabesque, let go, float above Mrs. Berliner's live pianos, Debussy, Tchaikovsky. Now 71, at jazzercise, no bar, no mirrored walls, not one tutu, any old sneakers, ceiling fans to cool hot flashes. I move to Uptown Funk, love yourself, rock that body, and the consolation of one call away. Stiff and creaky, still I grapevine, plie, chasse, as iPod speakers blare, and walk sassy to Baby, I'm Worth It.
Turn up the volume. That's so good.
Got it.
So thank you, everyone.
She's finished with it.
Okay, you can turn up the
Thank
volume.
you, Lois. That's so wonderful.
What?
Um,
You turn up the volume.
No, I thought the
Somebody-
volume-
somebody needs to mute themselves. Well, anyway, Lois, thank you so much. Sorry, I'm just having some technical difficulties. Okay, sorry, I'm just having some
Yeah,
kind of,
right here.
okay. So, anyway, sorry, I got distracted by some people. So thank you so much, Lois. It was so wonderful. I like your fakakta duck very much. And all of your wonderful poems. And if you stick around, I'm thinking that after the open mic, we can ask you some questions if you stick around.
I'll stick around. I feel very lucky to be here.
Okay, we're so happy to have you. Okay, all right. So, okay, so I will introduce our next reader. So, Peter Gordon. Peter Gordon is from Florida, and I think, Peter, you have some friends and family here, Peter?
Yes, I do, and thank you all for coming.
Okay. Let's see. Peter M. Gordon has published over 100 poems in various magazines, online journals, and anthologies. He's the author of 2 collections, Two Car Garage and Let's Play 2, Poems About Baseball. He won the 2019 Thomas Burnett Swan Poetry Prize and the Gwendolyn Brooks Writers Association of Florida. Peter founded and was first president of Orlando Area Poets, a chapter of the Florida State Poets Association, and has taught workshops on how to publish poetry at libraries and writing conferences around the state. He's had over 40 years experience creating and curating content for platforms ranging from live theater to digital video, and currently teaches business of film and Full Sail University film production MFA program. He lives in Orlando, Florida. Let's welcome Peter Gordon, Peter M. Gordon.
Thank you, Sherry, and thanks everybody for coming. I'm so thrilled that you all have allowed me to be here, considering that most of you are from the West Coast. And Lois, thank you so much for your reading. I grew up in Brooklyn, and many of those references really resonated with me. I want to start out with the first poem in my book, let's play two poems about baseball. I actually got the idea when I was at a Rays baseball game and somebody flashed the notice of their engagement up on the big scoreboard. And I said, you know, that's really nice, but I want to get married at home plate. And that's what this is called. I want to be married at home plate. My bride in a frilly white dress, spilling over the white rectangle marking the left-hand batter's box. She twists spikes in brown sugary dirt, digging in at the back of the box, peering over her shoulder and through the veil at Lefty, the minister, towing the pitcher's rubber. Day so dazzling we wear long brim caps. Bride slowly swings her bat back and forth. I race in from third in my morning coat, execute a perfect hook slide around the catcher, shower brown clay all over her dress. She pulls me at her side. We brush each other off, grab bats, crouch in our boxes, stare down Lefty, who lobs in a softball. Do you promise to cleave to one another, forsaking all others? We knock it out of the park, start life together dirty, sliding home just under the tag. Thank you. Yes, I wasn't married at home plate. Unfortunately, I hadn't thought about this, until more recently. The next three poems that I'm going to read were the ones that helped me win the Thomas Burnett Swan Prize. They are all true stories, more or less. And those of you who grew up in the New York area may be familiar with the Catskill Mountains and bungalow colonies. And the first one is called B&K Bungalow Colony, Summer of 1970. Sam Lorowitz took 2 weeks to cover every inch of our handball court's whitewashed walls with every word from Arlo Guthrie's song, Alice's Restaurant Massacre. Michelangelo would have understood Sam's beatific expression as he sat listening each night to the album, transcribing lyrics on a legal pad to inscribe them next day. After camp, we watched while Sam, brown curls clinging to shoulders, revealed the wall's true purpose. To this day, I can recite the whole song verbatim. Sam was 16 that summer. I, only 13, prayed for a piece of his passion. Our fathers seemed so old as they sat in circles, smoking cigars, talking baseball, their lives receding toward the horizon. That summer, I started to grow my hair, learned to sneak Dad's rum and scotch and soft drinks, and vowed to write my own future for me. And I'm told that if you go to the Alice's Restaurant Museum in Stockbridge, you will see pictures of that handball court. Somebody sent the pictures to the museum. The next one is about my father. My father worked as a travel agent, owned his own travel business for many years. And yes, he actually did this. I call this travel agent. About a week before we left on vacation, Dad started piling clothes on our living room sofa. He'd begin with weather, either wool sweaters, watch caps, mittens for Vermont, or Bermuda shorts, flip-flops, t-shirts for Florida. Each day he'd add garments until clothes covered every surface: socks, undershirts, striped ties, shorts, belts, wingtips, pajamas, and long underwear. I was married before I found out not every family did this. Most people see packing as a chore to finish fast. Dad saw potential energy pulsing through every pair of socks. When I put boxer shorts on our couch 2 days before a trip, my wife called my therapist. She didn't understand my family's need to physically manifest our desire to look forward to things. The night before we left, Dad, and only Dad, took our 2 biggest suitcases and packed everything in order. Underwear on bottom, dress shirts on top. In hospice, at his end, Dad said to stack some shirts and socks on the plastic chair in the corner, just in case he needed something where he was going. Thank you. And this last one from this group that helped me win that award is called Home of the Brave. Our PTA meeting began with the pledge, followed by the Star-Spangled Banner. Naomi, a short, thin Black woman, long hair, braided and beaded, stood and sang the first verse a cappella. Her soprano resounded off cinder block walls, surrounding us as she hit each note from low C to high G. When she trilled the high notes for Rocket's Red Glare, I thrilled, as if hearing it for the first time. Afterward, during coffee, I complimented her artistry. That wide range of notes makes our anthem a hard song to sing. Yes, she said. Do you know all the song's verses? Well, I said, I seem to remember reading about those last 3 verses and references to blood, triumph, free men, hirelings, and slaves. Yes, she said. It's a hard song to sing. Thank you. That dialogue actually happened one time in a meeting. I find that some of my more effective poems are when I write down kind of odd stuff that my family did or things that just actually happened to me. The next poem has a little bit of a backstory, which I'll give you before I read it. I was named for my grandfather, Pete. In the Jewish tradition, you don't name children after people that are alive, at least in our tradition. So I never did meet him. But I heard stories, and a few years ago, I found a letter that my grandmother has saved that he wrote her from the front in World War I. It was the letter that begins, you asked me what really it was like here, and I'm going to tell you now. Also, at the time I was thinking about this, I was visiting my parents who lived in Manhattan. They lived on the east side, right on the water, and the only way to get to the subway was to walk 4 blocks to Lexington Avenue, where there was the 69th Regiment Armory. So I decided to write about it. The 69th Regiment Armory. This blood-red brick giant defends Lexington Avenue's west side from East 24th to 25th Streets, fortified by tall turrets and armored windows. Lift up your eyes at lunch. See names of bloody battlefields carved deep in stone. Belleau Wood, Chateau Thierry, Argonne, and spaces left for battles to come. My grandfather Pete left Oberlin College to fight in the trenches alongside poets like Joyce Kilmer, who scribbled verse between barrages, fought fat rats for breakfast, faces caked with dry mud, waiting for whistles to signal over the top into no man's land. On 25th Street, just outside Baruch College, a mosaic of accounting majors smoke between classes in the Armory shadow and walk down Lexington to buy Afghan kebab from Khyber Pass Takeout or Star of Kabul, half a world from our current war, where today's poets, stung by sandstorms, spear scorpions in bedrolls, crave to come home, gaze at monuments, hold grandchildren in their arms, while Pete and his ghostly regiment chisel fresh names on stone pillars that support this crimson citadel. Thank you. That also was true. There were all these Afghan restaurants just down the street from the Armory. And that is in my book, Two Car Garage. Just happens to be a coincidence. There's a two in the title of both my books. The third book that I'm hoping to have out in the fall will have a different title. This poem's also in the book. It's just about the last one, and it's about my friend Jim, and I call it Jim. After midnight at our 35th reunion, I walked away from the disco DJ and open bar into a flagstone-covered side courtyard. 10 gargoyles crouched on cornices leered at me while I hummed the melody Jim taught me. The 4 brick walls and threadbare oak looked the same as when Jim wrapped harmonies around my thin, reedy notes, giving me permission to sing. Just after our 25th reunion, hushed words flew between classmates. I emailed him to say I'd pray. He died anyway, without a word or song from me. I lifted my voice one last time from the depths of this stone well. Jim strolled out from his old entryway. Harmony bounced off stone sconces. We sang oldies until dawn painted the sky rose and vermilion. Jim went ahead back inside, like he always did, waited for me to follow. Thank you. That was the first poem that I wrote that anybody ever said to me that really meant something to me. It was Jim's widow, Dorothy, who said that she kept a copy of it at her desk still. Which, you know, it's great to get acclaim and it's wonderful to win contests, but that was probably the poem that's meant the most to me. I have 2 more I want to share with you. These 2 will be in my upcoming book, and when I know when it's coming, I'll let Sherry know so everybody can find out. And hopefully these will be a little happier. This one actually won one of the contests a couple of years ago in the Florida State Poetry Association's contest. And those of you who might want to enter these contests, I will put the Florida Poets Association website in the chat so that you could see it. You don't have to be a Florida State poet to enter. We're accepting entries now, and I think they close in July. And this is called pleather, a word invented for a thing that resembles a real thing, but is not that thing, like doppelganger or succubus, seductive demon in human form. But that's too scary an image for a sunny day. Let's contemplate artificial sweetener in paper packs, a modern maker's substitute for sugar. Modern medicine implants artificial hips, ceramic or titanium joints and sockets stronger than bone. I remember the terror in the lecture hall when our economics professor told us money was an artifice, not backed by gold, but by government fiat. Yet once you create a thing, it is real. Whether it's plastic chair covers that resemble leather, or veggie hamburgers, or a marriage. Some nights I feel like a doppelganger, inhabiting a life I don't deserve. When I wake up shaking, you hold me, whisper, "My heart, I'm not going anywhere." I know the word for this, but fear to speak it aloud. Its power can burst boulders or bind lives. Love, I murmur, turning toward you for a very real kiss. Yeah, I don't know why I decided to write a poem about pleather, but that's just kind of what comes out. And this last thing is something my therapist actually said to me. It's called, "My therapist told me to change my socks." No Freudian he. I sat up straight on his couch to unload deep dysfunction, work a horror, home life a nightmare, oblivion a prime option, begged for relief, Prozac, Valium, Scotch to dispel the black tornado inside my head. He listened like an oracle on a swivel chair. He said, "Pull up your pant cuffs." I exposed white socks sticking up from black shoes. No one takes anyone seriously who wears white socks with black shoes. Change your socks, change your life. I pulled black socks over my feet like greaves, footwear, my armor. Confidence rushed in like the tide, but never ebbed. My boss leaped off my back. Women stuffed phone numbers in my pockets. Clouds parted. Sun shone on my face, while choirs of angels sang hosannas. I'm not stopping here, world. I'm purchasing belts and pocket squares. Thank you, everyone. Once again, I really appreciate the opportunity to read, Sherry. It was just wonderful. And thanks again, everybody, for coming and welcoming me in your group. I hope someday I can come to Portland and meet all of you in person who are in Portland.
Yeah, that would be great. Thank you so much, Peter. Those were really enjoyable. I especially liked change your socks, change your life.
It actually really works.
Really?
You should all try it sometime.
Sounds like a cover of a self-help book.
Maybe that'll be the title of my next poetry book.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Peter. And thank you, Lois. What a real treat. You know, it's like, I mean, for selfish reasons for me, I always look forward to this end of the month and having two wonderful readers. So next month, I was just seeing that Mark and Jim Merrill, they're going to be reading. I don't know if they're listening to me right now. Okay. So what I'm going to do is open it up to an open mic. And, you know, I was at this other reading and I kind of like their system. What they did is they just asked you to raise your hand. And then I wrote your names down. That way, you know where you are in the list. So could you raise your hand and tell me if you're interested in reading? Dan, Dale, Ronka, Nancy, Laura, oh, Amelie. Are you waving your hand, Jim? Okay, Jim. Carrie? Okay. Anybody else? Okay. All right, so what we usually do is read one poem, and if we have more time at the end, we can go around again. So are you ready? So Dale, you're the first person. You ready to read?
Dueling Stars. I just wrote this, so help me if you need to, anyone. I'm over the moon when you spin me like a yo-yo, string me along, practice skin the cat and walk the dog. You give me Kodachrome, backlit shadow play, a buzz like blue neon, pink moonrise and silver starfall. I give you dancing, break quick and close, even asleep you twitch and spin. I give you a double rum high or low ball, shaken not stirred, topped with an umbrella or an olive large as your thumb. You give me triple sex and sextuplets. I give you bipolar opposites, a black mood, wild abandon, and hysterics. I give you bouquets, combustible armloads, orchids, lilies, enough plastic flowers to fill up the yard. You give me ups and downs, roller derby hurricanes, terrifying tsunamis of love and despair. I give you silence, mellowed notes, smooth and soothing, and hard rock turned up to side-splitting intensity. You give me an engagement, a honeymoon, a family, a mortgage, and a lifetime.
Thank you, Dale. I just got a message in the chat asking if I recorded the reading, and I did. I recorded it, and you know, if you give me your email at the very end, I'll email it to you. So, okay, Nancy, you're muted.
Hello there. Well, this is the anniversary of George Floyd's murder, and so I decided that I would read a poem that I that I wrote and is dedicated to George Floyd. I wrote this last summer and it was published in October, but I think today is a good day to read it. With strings in the background still shivering, Black Lives Matter. Dedicated to George Floyd, October 14, 1973 to May 25, 2020. The year tips on its ear. Joy's last curve along the lines of yes, and I can't breathe. I can't breathe will echo for decades, maybe centuries, long after a gentle brother's passing. An innocent man bound hand to hand on the street, cuffed, choked, and murdered intentionally by yet another white police officer, abetted by 3 more cops, one of them Hmong, one of them Black. What? When will this end? I say, I resist, I resist, I resist, I resist this vision, this state of being. In this sad state of a so-called free nation, that we may stay alive one more day. My secret Black body inside your sacred Black bodies. I want you alive, my friends. I want us to live. Listen to the birds sing joy at us. Joy, spring, live. I can't say there's a goddamned God anymore. How could it just stand there and watch as an innocent man pleads for his life and dies? How could there be such a false hope? Answer me, cop. Black Lives Matter. May 25th, 2020, Minneapolis, Minnesota. Thank you.
Thank you, Nancy. Very important. The next person on my list is Stan.
I think I'm unmuted. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, good. I want to tell the readers that I spent a lot of summers in the Catskills as a busboy and waiter, and I called them the Sour Cream Sierras. That's what we call those mountains. This poem I wrote is called A Gift to Be Simple, A Gift to Be Free. And it was inspired by a book I read, My Name is Selma, and by my parents and aunts and uncles' immigrant stories.
Sorry, excuse me, Stan, is there a way we could see your face more? Because you're kind of going there, that's better.
Oh, okay.
I wanna see your face. Thank you.
The simple gift of being from an ordinary family with secret debauches never reaching notoriety. An ordinary gene pool of Ashkenazi immigrants, unexalted escapees from popes and pogroms, transplanting tradition, scholarship, community to Ellis Island, South Philly, Lower East Side, to tenements and settlement school beachheads. The blessing of a place so far from shtetl ghettos, providing generations the vigilance of freedom, cultivating personal meaning to the diaspora. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Stan. Next person on the list is Franca.
All right, thank you so much. The poem that I'm going to share with you is called My Road, and it is a Persian ghazal, And the ghazals are intended to be personal stories. And it has a structure. I won't tell you what the structure is. I'll just read it, and you can see how it is developed. My road. I tell a tale of my road, twists here and there my road, a life replete of what's next, along the bad and fair, my road, Mount Hood and Mount Jefferson, sacred pair on the high road, tracking under limpid skies, snow's sacred glare on the road. Each day I saw Tian Shan, ancient thoroughfare, the road, words over the ancient world, seated on the wayfair Silk Road, trod Ninian's holy path to the cave lair on his road, medieval peak Arsuli, chestnuts, fungi fair by road, Loch Lomond's lonely aged crest, regret in the air, my road, Orkney whispers in my ear, Maesho's prayer on Viking road, Callanish stones surround me, go or stay, a dare, long road. Franca is one who is candid or blunt, with flair on my road. Thank you. The ghazals always end with your name, the couplet, and you have to integrate your name to the very last couplet. So that's why I use my name.
Cool. Thank you, Franca. Next person on the list is Laura Winter. Laura.
Okay. The poem I'm going to read is called Peccadillos. Peccadillos. A gnat stuttering across the clock's face steps from one octagon of skin to the next, understands the texture of time and the stretches of age. The small things, like no batteries to keep the charge, and tomatoes turned upside down overripe in juice on a plate. And how many times a pinky tries to outswim the paring knife.
Thank you, Laura. It's good to see you. It's been a long time.
Yeah, good to see you. I'm muting now.
Okay. The next person is Amelie. Amelie?
There we go.
Okay.
Technical difficulties. Okay, so yes, it's the first anniversary of George Floyd's death, and it's very much in my mind because I've spent the last year on this book. It's an anthology of poetry with lots of photos of board-ups. Anyway, this wasn't in the book because I wrote it too late. It's about being woke. Don't go back to sleep. Don't go back to sleep. You've awakened, but that's not enough. Not yet. Not until it's better, until things have changed, until evolution has proceeded and succeeded, until you have manifested the change, embodied the changes, until you know it in your bones. Don't go back to sleep. Don't pretend it's over. When the riots stop, when justice takes over, when there is quiet again, that doesn't mean it's over. It doesn't mean you get to go back to sleep, to ignore what else needs to be done until you remember what it was, but you can't find it anymore. You have to keep taking a step forward, one, and then another, until it's done, until it's time to rest, until we can all rest in peace, in safety, in security. But it's not time yet. No, there's still a lot of work to do. And until it's finished, don't go back to sleep. Don't forget what needs to be done. The healing hasn't begun, not yet. So don't go back to sleep.
Okay, thank you. What great poems we have tonight. Okay, so our next poet is Jim Merrill.
Feels like it. All right, testing, calling Dick Tracy. All right, here you go.
Thank you. I'm here in Kaiser with Mark, and we're having too much fun together. This is called Fish for a Day. And this is truly an Oregon poem, so enough of that East Coast stuff. Give a man a fish, he can eat for a day. Teach a man to shoot fish in a barrel, he can eat for a week. Give him a basket and some waders, he can eat for a season. At Celilo, scrap the upstream hydro dam and they can eat forever. Bring home fish in a basket for the tribe until 49. After that, they can use nets, then stocking, then fishnet stockings. To fish is to live is a dream. To sleep is to dream, is to sleep. In a bed, in the bed of the river, on the feather bed, in the river of time. Salmon sleep swimming upstream till they learn to climb ladders. Sing, Ella, sing till you swing. If it don't have that swing, then it ain't worth a thing. Thank you. I don't know what it means. I just felt the rhythm.
Yeah. Thanks, Jim. That was fun.
Yeah, thank you.
Mark, did you want to read too?
He's got to read.
Sure. Okay. Since we're here together, I might as well go ahead and read. This is called On the Sublime. These words here abandoned on the page, so removed from the real, shadows of perfection, ultimately worthless. Light angles from between parting clouds who graciously flow aside the last drop of day. The first cautious sip of dusk lights her brown hair, highlighting their ends, creating a halo. For a second, she's a living portrait, backlit and soft, unreachable and perilously close, stands on the corner, dog beside her, a comfortable posture, patience, rest, energy, solidity, softness, and femininity, not knowing I'm looking, or even taking this moment to notice it is, after all, just another sunset, just another corner, just another girl walking a dog. For an instant, she, the air, the time, the light, washing through her hair, becomes something more. Sublime and beautiful are different things. One bound, finite, locked, inseparable. The other finite and unreachable, but marred by limited perceptions. The Peruvian band set at the corner of California Street played that night before a crowd much larger than anyone had expected. A crazy old lady danced, not nimble, but still with a kind of inner grace, as if the steps taken so slowly now were a memory of an earlier late July star-covered dance floor. Arms held up, cane in one hand, feet and shoulders carry the rhythm unfamiliar and the same, moving away from the middle-aged woman and children she has shamed into action. Drab blue sweater, dirty white pants, gray hair, greasy and pulled back, no false teeth, just the look in her eye, knowing that the music is the body and the dance is life and death and everything between. And only she is its instrument, a little beat up, a little out of tune, but must be played. Beauty, the confines of a dictionary definition and geometry, to dance and stand and see. Thanks.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you for reading. And so just to repeat that Mark and Jim will be our readers the last Tuesday of June, which is, does anybody know? June 29th. Okay. All right, thank you. So the last person on my list so far is Carrie.
Okay.
Carrie.
This is called Innocence Does Not Forget. Lips pressed to winter window pane, sucking air on the other side. Eyes crossed, nose smushed, body ready to leap. The bird in flight, the squirrels gallop, the trees bare twined branches weaving the wind. What awaits? Adventures atop shoulders, solid, safe. The dirt road berry patch, candy. The rock creature creek, crawdads. Pickle clover under feet, ready to eat. Finger tracings on glass, do not imagine outside air or summon the squirrel. Those shoulders have softened and grayed. Crawdads are on the menu across town. The berry patch is sprayed with some kind of side. So is the clover. They are invasive and weeds after all. While we forget because we know better, window panes are waiting to be kissed. Thank you.
Thanks, Carrie. Nice to see you.
You too, thanks.
Our old friends. Is there anybody else who'd like to read who hasn't read? Oh, Stella.
Yeah, I'm going to read a poem. Okay. This poem I'm going to read is a poem written after a trip to Ecuador. Women on the Amazon. 1. I wake up, still dark, in a hammock on the balcony. I walk towards the edge of the Napo River, a tributary of the Amazon. A dug-out canoe appears, 2 women in it, punting with poles. Having reached their destination, they tow the vessel to the shore with a reliable blue rope. One of the 2 bears a long blade and a pair of rubber boots. The other woman carries a basket held by a band across her forehead. I expect to find fish freshly caught in that basket. 2. The afternoon, I return to the river edge. Some young pupils are sitting in the mechanized canoe after school. They have already removed their socks and shoes, ready to run barefooted when they arrive at their island home. I notice a small Quechua girl dressed in her school uniform, a white short sleeve shirt and a short black skirt. A lavender color backpack holds her books. Her shy face with downcast eyes glows an earthy tone. 3. At the Basilica del Voto Nacional in Quito, when I stand in line in front of a traveling portrait of Our Lady of Guadalupe, in the portrait, the Quechua girl reappears. Thank you.
Thanks, Stella. All right, well, I think I'll close tonight with a poem I wrote. So you just have to suspend your disbelief. Suspend your disbelief. Gravy. On a solo hike to Eagle Creek, I stumbled upon a wild turkey. He was standing in the middle of the muddy trail, staring up at the sky. He must have been there a while. He appeared to be drowning. "Are you okay?" I shouted. I knew he wouldn't hear me. I moved in closer. "Do you need some help?" With my cell phone out of range and no hikers in sight for miles, I probably couldn't help. I noticed his strong pink legs kicking and his heavy body bopping as if he were dancing. Maybe he was happy. The water was climbing up his body fast, covering his iridescent plumage, shiny coppery sheen. When it reached the base of his neck, I became very nervous. "That's enough," I screamed. He abruptly cranked his neck, darting his head in my direction. "Here," I said, offering him my rainbow umbrella and nearly new Patagonia rain jacket. As I leaned in closer, I saw him clearly. White bald head, red wattle, blue neck. So American. I almost said, it, but was afraid I might hurt his feelings. As I continued to read, the water would soon become deep enough to form a pond with silver fish, paddle tail worms, giant green insects. He'd be okay, but I needed to go. My husband would be setting the table with linguine carbonara and 2 glasses of cab. He had already written a list of TV shows for us to watch and put out a big bowl of mixed nuts loaded with extra large cashews. Thank you. It was fun to write. Sometimes you just have to do that. Well, anyway, I just want to thank everybody. Thank you, our wonderful readers, Lois and Peter. What a great thing to have Zoom. That way we can have you. It's really great. I was thinking if you'd like, we could just unmute ourselves and talk to the poets, or just for a couple minutes.
Well, I'm grateful for Zoom. I've gotten to know people from all over the United States in various, poetry venues or language venues or theater venues. It's horrible to say, but in the pandemic, strangely enough, I gained something, not just losing. So.
Thank you for coming.
Yeah, it's a privilege, really.
I loved your poem, Sherry. That was fun.
Oh.
And very caring toward the turkey.
Well, my mom passed away a year ago, and I've been writing so many poems of her, and you just have to just break out, I mean, just, how it is, right? You just have to go crazy.
I don't know why you said you had to suspend disbelief. That sort of thing happens to me all the time.
Actually, we did have a turkey in our backyard about a month ago. And I didn't think about that turkeys can fly. Of course, they're birds.
Yeah.
And it was there till it just about got dark. And then all of a sudden it went way up to the top of a Douglas fir tree.
Wow.
What?
Yeah, sorry.
Oh, I think that if everybody's vaccinated, that next month we could safely be indoors at a particular venue, other than turning on my computer and imagining others. I think that's just something I have to do with my family, is all vaccinated. I hope that's not heresy to say that, but it seems to me sensible. That's all I want. That's what I wanted to say.
Well, I have to
Opinion about that?
I have to agree with Franca. I think the Zoom has been wonderful, because Peter wouldn't be here if it weren't for Zoom. And I'm not coming to Portland, sorry. I'm not. and Nancy over there has been in 2 of our anthologies, and we're great friends, but I've never met her in person. So it's really good to be able to see her and hear her read. Yeah. So, we take the good with the bad, and there have been a lot of pluses to this. And it's the book that I said we've been working on came out last October. We've had events across the country, and the poets in the book are from all over the country. So, it's an opportunity.
I didn't mean either or. And as you expressed, not wanting to go to Portland, we could do a hybrid.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
that's my plan, is to do hybrid. But Dale, edited and created the COVID journal, which brought all these poets together. And so, I mean, that is something she did. And I don't know if you attended all the readings that we had. That was pretty remarkable.
Mm-hmm.
The anthology is so beautiful too,
Yeah.
Dale.
Yeah.
You did an amazing job. And Susan also.
Yes.
Thank you, Lois.
I was going to say too, that one thing about joining all of you on Zoom that inspired me is that I now host a monthly open mic for the Florida State Poets Association members, because
Wow.
Florida is a big state and people in Pensacola couldn't come regularly. And actually, Sherry, I modeled it on the way you run this one.
Oh, wow.
It's for association members only right now, because there's so many of them. That takes up the whole time. But if I hadn't have come, if I hadn't been part of this, I probably never would have thought about doing something like that.
Mm. Well, that's great to hear. Wow.
Yeah, we have a poet, Amalia Diaz Edinger. She's in Central Oregon. She has no opportunities to come to the Valley to share her poetry and her books. So it's, like I said, it's been eye-opening, a privilege. I embrace all the poets that I've heard tonight. I'm still amazed, you know. I'm amazed I even figured out how to do Zoom. That is an accomplishment of itself. At my age, who would have thought?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, and just let me point out that Nancy over there, my friend, is from Baker City. So, you know, that's why we've never met in person. So yeah, it is a great opportunity for some of us who are spread out. That's a long way away. And I know she's not going to come here into the Valley or even Portland to read poetry.
Yeah, I'm really grateful for the Zoom. Thank you so much, Sherry. You've been awesome. And Dale, you rock. You just rock. Thank you so much for all your work.
Thank you.
And Emily, you too, and all of you. Your poems are terrific. And I just feel really lucky just to be able to share these little sessions with you guys. It's fab. And you too, Mark. Oh my goodness, you guys are terrific. You make me laugh so hard. Have a great night, everybody.
Yeah, thank you, Sherry.
Well, thank you, everybody. It's been a really wonderful night. Does anybody want to stick around, like Nancy or whatever, and anybody else, just, I know we've got a little business to talk about, Nancy. So, and everybody else, I just want to thank you and see you June 29th, right?
I'll see you Thursday, Sherry.
Oh yeah, Thursday. Okay.
Thanks, Sherry. Bye.
Good night.
Bye, Devin.
Bye again. Thank you, everybody. It was great.
Carla.
Thank you, Sherry.
Thank you.
Emily, Paul.
Good night.
See you tomorrow.
Bye, Paul. Bye, Paul.
Bye.
Good night. Thank you. Leave the meeting, yeah.
Good night. Bye, Paul.